evening, everybody. I'm excited that we are here. I'm sure there's traffic out there, and we'll get those who will be stragglers coming in. But it's a pleasure to be here with you all this evening. We have been going around the district over the past couple of weeks, and we have had 5 people in our sessions, and we have had 50 people in our sessions. But we serve and we take this opportunity very seriously, whether how big or small it is. We give the opportunity to share what happened in this legislative session, and also to give the opportunity for our constituents to not just ask questions, but for us to talk through some of the things that you probably will see this next legislative session. But before I get started, I do want to take the opportunity to introduce a couple of people who are here in the room. My colleague from across the other chamber, and that's Representative Fabian Basabe's office, who's here. I want to make sure that they get the opportunity to at least introduce themselves, to say hello, so you all know who they are.
Hi, I'm Adrian Gonzalez. I'm legislative aide for Representative Basabe on the other side of the air's a little not as crisp. The 7th side. They got nicer windows, better light.
Thanks, Adrian. Adrian works in Representative Basabe's office, and we work together on a lot of appropriation items on the other side of the aisle. We also have Commissioner Vicky Steinberg's office is here. Alexis Mosley is here. What's that, Alexis?
Hi, I'm Alexis Mosley. I'm from County Commissioner Vicky Steinberg's office. I'm the district coordinator. If you need anything from our office, because this is also our district as well for the county, we're always here to help.
Thank you so much, Alexis. And so thank you all again for being here. And honestly, these opportunities that we have has really turned into a lot of a dialogue and to talk about what happened in this legislative session, but particularly in our out east areas, we have been using this opportunity to let individuals know about the new condo law. So we have created a condo cheat sheet for you all, so which walks through what the bill does, and we're going to talk through it today. But I am going to give you just a very brief of what happened this past legislative session when it comes to the budget, some things that we've done. I'll talk through some things that we're looking to do next legislative session, and then I'm going to open up the floor for us to dialogue with each other. This past legislative session, as you all know, we are constitutionally required to do session for 60 days every year. Every year we go between starting in January if it's an election year, or March if it's a non-election year. This year, the session will start on January 13th. Last year, session went over. Session went instead of going 60 days, it went 105 days, and that was because of a budget impasse, and we were not able to pass a balanced budget, in which we are constitutionally required to do. Considering the fact that we did not pass the House and the Senate did not come to an agreement, we went to the 105 days, and here's where I'll tell you how much of a budget that we ended up going through. We passed a $115 billion budget, which is about the final budget was about a $1.5 billion decrease than what we saw from last year. $600 million of those dollars, 600 million of member projects within the budget was vetoed last year. And for those who don't know, I'll walk you through very briefly and how this happens. Representative Basabe and I, because his office is here, if we get LFIR forms from, whether it's from organizations, whether it's from constituents, or whether it's from cities or even from the county, and we file those to the appropriation staff on the respective sides. Once we file those things into the respective sides, those things go to the appropriations committee, and they go through the same bill. They go through a type of bill process. In the House, you all still take it through a bill process for each appropriation. The House, each appropriation is a bill, whereas it's not counted towards it. But whereas in the Senate, our appropriations are not a bill unless it's a policy that has an appropriation that's attached to it, then therefore it is now considered an appropriation type of bill. The governor, I tell people all the time, he'll equal opportunity this year. The governor, he vetoed Democrat and Republican things alike. We have that list of items that were vetoed this past legislative session. And as I shared in all of our updates that we have gone to, if you desire to get that list of those things that our office have filed and those things that were vetoed, they are readily available, and we can forward those things to you so you all can also be informed of those things that came forth and those things that were vetoed. This year, our office, along with our appropriation items that we put forth, we filed about 36 different pieces of legislation. But of the legislation that we passed, 3 of them that we are happy were signed into law, and I'll share those with you. One of the bills that we filed that has become law is SB 14, which was relief for the estate of Peniel Javier, he was an individual who drowned in the city of Miami Beach through negligence. He was a recreational leader, and that was a $1.7 billion appropriation that went to his family. We filed SB 202, which was a bill that was basically a battle between North Miami Beach and Miami Gardens. The governor ended up vetoing that. Did not become law, but it got extremely far within the process. But that was one of our bills that was vetoed. One of the bills that the governor did file, that he did sign, that we filed, was SB 268, which was public records. As you all have seen over the past couple of months now, what has happened with elected officials, or what has been happening with elected officials, people showing up to their homes, people showing up to the homes of their children, and to the workplaces of their spouses. This legislation, currently now, prior to the governor signing this, you all could go online and look up any elected official, where they live, where their spouses work. And I did not know this until we filed this bill, where their children go to school. And so we filed SB 268, and we did this along with Representative Susan Valdez from Tampa. And what this did was it redacted the personal information, the address, the street of elected officials, from the governor on down to city commissioners, where they can get their information now redacted. But it does sunset. It does sunset after they are no longer in office. The last one that we filed, the governor signed, that we were very happy about, and that was licensure of family foster homes. So you all know, prior to the governor signing this piece of legislation, if you were a foster parent, and you had a license to be a foster parent in a particular county, if you want to move to Miami-Dade County, you would not be able to take your license to that new county with you. And you would have to place those children who are now your foster children back into the system. So it was a child welfare issue, and we wanted to figure out what is the best way we could bring relief to a system that's already strained. And so now the governor has signed this. If you are a foster parent and you have a license and you have foster children, if you want to move to anywhere within the state of Florida, you can take your license and the children along with you. Which we believe was a good piece of legislation, passed unanimously, and now it's the law of the land. I will tell you that I'll end with this portion of it as pertains to ending on the budget as I started. So you all understand that when your representatives, I'm your senator for the area, but when your representatives, when they file different types of appropriation, a lot of those things are infrastructure dollars. You can ask Adrian how many of the bills appropriation items that were filed by Representative Lasabe or Representative Aristide or anyone, they usually are projects that cities have given us, and these projects are things that are trying to take some of the burden off of the taxpayers that live within those particular cities, and basically asking the state to help us with projects fill in the blank. Most cities who come with these particular projects, a lot of them have what we know as match dollars, which sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. And so just for you all situational awareness, if you ever hear me or if you hear a representative make mention of the fact of what asking the question of this was a half match or this was a type of match. That means is that the city has made it clear that they're going to put in half of what it is, and the state might not give the other half, but the state will make an investment on something, because the state has not for the past couple of years been in the business of building new properties, nor has the state has been in the business of trying to restore like equipment and things of that nature. I do know, for instance, within the Senate, for those of you who might be saying that, listen, I want to file an appropriation this year, because if you have a organization or you have something that has a state interest, you can file an LFIR form. Also, our office do a We the People University where we walk you through how to file for an appropriation. You can do that, but just know that the process that takes that through, not only do you need a senator, but you also need a House member to do it. And when we do have that, we absolutely send those dates out for you so you can have. One of the things that I do want to walk you through, and you all see it here, because I know where I'm at, I want to make sure that we walk through condo legislation. Like, I see who's here. So we are going to walk through the condo legislation, and I'm going to take my time going through this. One, because I knew we were in here at Bal Harbour, but I know there were questions that constantly come to our office when it comes to for those individuals who live in Surfside. And so I did, my office, thank you to Devin, Kai, and Carrington who are here. You all just wave your hands so people know who you are. They're from our office. They put together a cheat sheet for you all so you can know what this bill did. And I'm going to go through this very quickly, and I'm going to pause after this for not just questions when it comes to this, when it comes to condo legislation, but I also want to be able to hear you all's concerns, your concerns when it comes to condo legislation and ideas that you might have when it comes to that. So one thing that we broke it up into sections so you all can know. The milestone inspection and structural integrity reserves. Here's what that section did. There was a milestone study requirements that was done, and we put the bill number that was where you could find it also. Milestone study requirements that was done within this section. There were disclosure requirements. Local reporting, where local enforcement agencies must annually report milestone inspection data. The funding for the SARS reserves, the uninhabitable buildings, which was in here, was as far as reserve funding and how it can be hauled without owner votes if a building is declared uninhabitable due to emergencies. Temporary reserve clauses. This section also dealt with 4-family dwelling exceptions. The SARS study deadlines. There was I know a lot of condos came after the first iteration of the bill passed year before last, and they spoke about asking for an extension. Senator Pizzo, Representative Lopez, and Senator Bradley, they heard those concerns from you all, and they put that within the legislation. The study delays was in that section, and also affidavit requirements, where the officers or directors must sign up affidavit acknowledging receipt of completed SARS studies. The next section of that bill, multiple bills that dealt with condo reform, dealt with condominium updates. Alternative reserve funding. We heard from those from the condo associations for those concerns. The video conference rules. Most people made it clear that they can't always make it to the in-person meetings. Management contracts, property insurance, official records, how long you must be able to keep those particular records. The access denial for penalties. The website posting of deadlines, where the documents must be posted in a certain amount of time. Financial reporting, the waiving of financial reports, investment rules, the meeting rules, where video conference meetings, they require specific notices and must be reported. The annual member meetings, budget adoption, the reserve threshold, which was a big concern that came from many from condo associations. The pooling reserves, hurricane protection costs, electronic voting, email voting, and emergency powers. On number 20, on the same section that was dealing with condominium updates, developer contracts, that was a concern that came from many from the condo association, shared facilities reporting, division reporting, recession period, and the My Safe Floor condominium program, which expanded that funding. The last section was the cooperatives, and there were 7 things that was in HB 913 that was included in there. The investment rules, which was in that section. The reserve threshold, the uninhabitable building, which you will see consistently in every section. The pool and reserve, the emergency powers, reporting to the division, and the recession period. This is something that you all can look at when you can see a lot of the change that happened in 2025. But I also will let you know that after speaking with Senator Pizzo and also speaking with Senator Bradley, there are other sections other changes that I'm sure will come this next legislative session based off of concerns that just came from individuals from our condo associations that's happening right now. I do want to recognize Representative Basabe, who's here. Would you like to say anything, Representative?
Here to listen.
Okay, perfect. And so if there's anything as far as questions or concerns that you all may have, please, I would love for you all to share those either now, you can share them later, or ideas that you all are seeing when it comes to condo laws. And we have a pause here to hear if there are any of those concerns that you all may have from condos or from this past legislative session before I move on. Yes, sir.
My name is Dave Sanchez.
Dave,
I don't exactly own a condo.
Yeah.
I'm a condo apartment. My parents do. We're recent homeowners. But one of the issues I have with my condominium association and my management company is the request of records. I send emails to my association, who is the person who has all the paperwork, and I'm not receiving anything back on, so for example,
your information and also the email thread that you have with those people that from the association, because now they're breaking the law. Because the law clearly defines what it means that when a resident or an owner, if you are the owner, if you're requesting that information, then they are required to give that to you within a rightful time frame. Okay. Yeah.
I just want to say to note the senator that when you copy, it really works. Senator Pizzo literally
We'll pick up the phone, yes.
and in 20 minutes,
Yeah.
they told the realtor, no, we can't give you that information, you can't have it. He called.
Yeah.
They got it right away.
Yeah.
So it really it works.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. I'm be honest, but Senator Pizzo is literally this is an expertise of his that he has taken on as a real thing. And what I will tell you is that if we can't do it, there are individuals who will make sure they force the hand because they know the law like that. But we would love to get your information and we will help you for sure. Anybody else? Anybody else? No? Okay, perfect. All right. So talking about this, the next legislative session that we're about to embark in. So next session will start on January 13th of this year. And committee weeks will start on October 6th. The schedule just came out. The Senate, most of our meetings have been canceled for this year. The biggest conversation that is happening right now, and our office have gotten the calls about it, and that is about property taxes and the elimination of property taxes. And I know there have been a lot of conversations that's happening right now when it comes to property taxes. Here's the biggest question that we are going to have to ask, whether for or against it. I want you to think about it from this perspective. What happens to the $50 to $60 billion gap that the state of Florida will have to figure out? How do we fill this out for essential services? Essential services. So we're talking about our fire. We're talking about your police. You're talking about your schooling for our children. It is going to be a top conversation that I'm almost sure that will be huge when we get to come to Tallahassee. It's not the fact whether or not it's right or wrong. It's the fact of who's going to pay for what. And that is the question that will have to be asked. Now, again, like I shared with you all in the beginning, when we're looking at from the perspective of the House and the Senate, there are chamber leaders that may not see these things. They probably see these things differently, and I'm sure they do, which is fine. At the end of the day, we're going to have to come in and figure it out. Here's what I will say. As this being one of the conversations that will happen this next legislative session, or a conversation that will happen, you all, the voters, will be the ones to have the discussion on whether or not you want to eliminate property taxes. Why? We will vote on it as a resolution. The resolution will come to you all. And as this resolution comes to you all have to decide whether or not this is something you want. Now, I will tell you, you're going to see a lot coming from different sides. From your perspective, you will have to figure out how does it fit and how does it work for you and your family. But what I will tell you, the greater impact of it is large. We are already a state that we don't collect income tax. And we are a state that we, not solely, but we're big as far as how many dollars that we bring in from tourism. And the question now becomes, will we have to raise sales taxes in order to be able to fill a gap? I don't think right now where affordability is astronomical for anyone to be able to live, not just in Florida, just period. No one wants to have to pay more money if we don't have to, if we could just think through what does this look like. That's one thing that I know we will deal with this next legislative session. Another thing that I know for a fact we will deal with this next legislative session is when it comes to vaccine mandates. You all have seen it. You all heard about it on the news and other places. The truth be told, there are certain vaccines that does not need legislative approval. It just does not. But there are others that need legislative approval. Here's what I will tell you, and I will make it clear that there are already exemptions in the books, most people know, that already exist within the books where parents can exempt for personal or religious exemptions. So it was, and I still consider it as such, that as leaders we have to be careful in how we display that type of information to residents, to Floridians, because as we know that can be an issue that where it can be misinformation, especially when we have school-age children. When it happened, it was when kids were going right back to school. That'll be something else that we deal with this legislative session. Two of the bills that I will share with you that we are going to be filing this legislative session. One of them has to do with it's a blue envelope, and it's for individuals who identify as having autism spectrum disorder, or if they and they have registered as such with the DMV. We're working now with the Sheriff's Association, and we're filing along with Representative Susan Valdez from Tampa. And all the bill says is that these individuals who have self-identified as ASD already on their license, now they also have the opportunity to get what's known as a blue envelope that they can keep in their car. If ever pulled over by a police officer, they can pull out their driver's license, their insurance card, or whatever information that an officer may need, and they have it in this blue envelope. Because as some people don't know, and I hope more people become more understanding of those individuals who are living with autism. Some of them are verbal and some of them are nonverbal, and they live normal lives. They drive to work, they drive to school, and we will have found out that a lot of time, even though there are certain municipalities and cities that have certain or different types of programs when it comes to ASD. I know there are some cities that have a sticker where individuals can put in the back of the car. Some cities have a type of envelope. Some cities have nothing. Some cities have no trainings at all. This uniforms everything to ensure that officers know how to deal with individuals who might be ASD, and also giving those individuals a safety mechanism for themselves if ever pulled over, where they can give that blue envelope. We have talked, please, I would love to, please.
If a child is autistic,
Yep.
and the policeman doesn't know, if they reach for their dashboard, what happens?
Yes. Interesting. So, I don't know the answer to that question, right? But what I will tell you is that this would be no different than if the police officer is asking them to give you your license and registration. Now, how they train those individuals and what that look like and asking for that information to someone who might not be nonverbal is exactly what we're dealing with right now with the, I can't remember the name of the organization that we're working with.
Greater Autism.
We say the name, Cap?
Greater Autism Society.
Okay. The Greater Autism Society of Orlando, who has now brought in some national partners, because So there were a lot of questions, about 2 pages worth of questions that we needed to answer. And I'm almost sure that's one of them that's on there. And how do we communicate with an individual who needs to reach, who cannot communicate and get that? So that was probably one of the areas. Yes.
I like the idea with the envelope, but like the lady said here, I mean, reaching over could
Yeah.
be a problem. Could it be a license plate that they get that's very clear, or is that too much or a form of discrimination, or could it be something else other than reaching over to get it out
Or
of
like a
the
sticker on their glove department, so when you're reaching towards that sticker, they might see the sticker, like it could be a cool puzzle piece or
Right.
something like that. So then they know, oh, they're reaching towards a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
It's autism.
I appreciate that, because in the North Miami Beach, North Miami Beach meeting that we had, we did have a mom in there who really educated us, she educated us on this very thing when it comes, because her child, who is 18, she enrolled her child to be able to identify as him having autism. But when he turned 18, he no longer wanted the designation on his driver's license, because she was his guardian. So her question was, what happens to those individuals who don't want to identify themselves as having being ASD? And that is something that we have not answered, and I don't know if it can get answered in legislation, right? Because if an individual is 18 years old and they decide that they don't want to identify as that, then I think we probably will have to leave it as such. But I appreciate that.
Just for insight on how that process could work, back during the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement, there was talks about having similar cars on the dashboards, so people wouldn't have to reach in their glove compartment for the same issue you were saying, how police would know what they're reaching for. So it could be a solution where, let's say it's the blue envelope, there's a holder on the dashboard, the police can see it, everyone sees it, and just reaching onto the dashboard rather than inside the glove compartment. That's a possible solution.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to have to explore some ways that we can do that. I will say that there are some cities who they have done it in a way to where they have put stickers in the back of cars. And again, the problem goes where you have individuals who just don't want to be identified as such. It might just be too obvious. So listen, here's what I will tell you. We're not the experts in this. I will share with you all that our desire is to be able to hear from you all with those type of things, those ideas, those type of concerns, because we get up there and you file those things and you just don't know. But it'd be great to be able to take those things back, to be able to bring those into that space, to ensure that we're just not filing something blindly and not being able to talk to those individuals who who not just familiar with it, but it's their lived experience. One of the last ones that we are working on, and it's because it's not just me, but I'm finding out that there are other individuals who are dealing with this, but that is with pet insurance. And I don't know, everybody laugh when I say pet insurance, but I mean it. Listen, it is, pet insurance right now is, they're not regulated. And I know some people are like, you're a big scam and all this other stuff. But many people who have pets, yeah, they have invested in pet insurance, including me. But the crazy thing about it is that how they fluctuate with their rates, you're taking money from a consumer with no explanation of why you're raising rates, right? Everywhere else you have to tell why you're raising rates, and that just seems to not happen. And while I joke about it or I laugh about it when I speak about pet insurance, there are a lot of people who use it, a lot of Floridians who are using it, and individuals just don't have money for us to raise rates and without explanation. And we're looking into that, and with the hopes that we can get at least some answers. Even if it doesn't go across the finish line, at least we can start a good conversation when it comes to pet insurance. I'm going to step back, and I am going to open up the floor to hear any concerns, any questions that you all might have, and I would love to dialogue with you all. Please, and then I can.
Question, homeowner's exemption.
Homeowners exemption.
Right, so the values of the properties are going up. I do live here.
With $500.
Huh?
How much did you weigh with that? I'll let you finish.
Right, so you know, it's still the 50% or whatever it is for a homestead tax exemption. If the values are going up, can that go up as well and give a better discount? I mean, it's just something throwing it on the table because, I mean, the values are going up way high. So, but it's still a minimum of homestead tax exemption. So I'm not sure if that's something that we can change or have a discussion or put it on the table.
Anything can happen. As you know, you've been to Tallahassee multiple times to not just to lobby, but also to advocate with the Realtors Association. I will say that it hasn't been something that I know that has come into conversation, but it's something that I will say that I would not be surprised if a conversation will be had. I'll tell you why. This weekend in Washington at CDC, there was a roundtable discussion that spoke about homeowners exemption and whether or not the legislature could begin to have a conversation when it comes to it. I will say, if it did happen, it won't happen. I don't think it'll happen this year. Right. Now, that's just the gospel according to Jones that been sharing this, right? But I do believe that there's a world where that conversation can happen. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Back on the topic of pet insurance and regulating that. Does this, for example,
Yeah, you got some help.
Is this going to affect something, for example, Banfield? Now, I don't have pet insurance for my...
Is it going to affect what?
Something like Banfield. Banfield is kind of like a well-known health insurance for the dogs that you could go to certain veterinarians and you get a really reduced price. Would that target that? Your idea of a legislation, or how exactly?
Not that I don't know. Let me say that I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know. Here's what I will. I will say that the conversation with pet insurance actually started last session with Senator DeSigley, who he brought forth a bill that didn't directly deal with pet insurance, but it dealt with pet insurance with individuals who had unsafe dogs, right? This has become a new conversation because no one has really just said, let's look into like what does this industry and how it's operating, right? So I will tell you, it will be a new conversation, and you're not going to become an expert at the same time, because I can tell you this literally will be me and whoever who I work with this, learning through pet insurance and what does it look like. Not just to regulate, to make sure we're bringing sense to it. It might not even be something that that will get filed as a bill. It might go forth as a study. Could absolutely be a thing. But we have to do something to at least bring an understanding to people. And if that comes up, and I want to be able to write that down, what you just made mention, say the name again?
Banfield.
Banfield?
Banfield.
Okay, I appreciate that. Anybody else? Please.
I just have like a general question
Yes.
for you, for the Democrats.
Yes.
What are you doing to fix the education issues in Florida? I have a grandson who they would love to come to Florida. They don't dare because of the schools. They're so horrible. And what's the long-term plan for fixing this?
Yeah. This is a long conversation, and I'll say this, that the state of Florida, where we are now when it comes to education, we are a school choice state. Let's put that on the table. And how the state of Florida, how we have managed to move into to being a school choice state has been rough in how we respond to our public schools. Our public school system, I think in Miami-Dade County, we have seen almost 13,000 students who are basically, they say missing, they're not missing, but a decrease in 13,000 students within our public school system. The short answer to your question is that not only is there a lot of work to do, State of Florida is going to have to figure out that if we're going to do both, let me tell you, here's what I'll tell you. If we're going to do both, we're going to have to figure out how to walk and chew gum at the same time. I'll tell you why. The Northeast have figured out how you can have choice in public school at the same time, right? But the problem is that our public school systems is still where 87% of our students still attend. 87%.
Or what?
87% of the students still attend our public school system. That we are not, that are not funded adequately. Now, my colleagues and Representative Masada might have a different perspective on that, that I welcome him to if you want to share, you can. But as far as Democrats are concerned, yeah, I have fought for public schools, but I've also made sure to respect if parents want to place their children in choice, to recognize that also, but not at the behest of students and how public school system and the failing of our school system to have.
But there has to be a comprehensive plan
Yeah.
for the Democratic Party to follow
Yeah.
to get to that Northeast model.
Yeah.
And that Northeast model, Massachusetts, has been a plan for 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. We are in a state that is a super minority. I can listen. I can lie and not tell the truth. But I don't think you came in for that. The Democrats are not in the majority. The Democrats are in the super minority in both the House and the Senate. And so
That doesn't matter. You still have to have a plan.
I open this up with the question is, what does that look like, right? Because we are now, I've been here 13 years now, and we have moved away from any type of plan that we could have had over those last few years. And as we progress forward, it's going to be difficult. And as a Democrat, none of that's going to change unless we get more seats in most numbers. Now, I will say that now within the Senate, we have a tad bit of an advantage when it comes to numbers in the Senate, because we just brought in Senator LaVon Bracey Davis, which creates a tad bit better scenario for us. But I don't know if there's an active plan that's happening right now, and I know that I'm not one that's directing that plan. But I can't give a straight answer, and without me trying to BS you and say something that I know for a fact is not happening. Because we have come past the days where someone can come up here and just fill you with something and just make you feel good, and no, it's not true.
I'm just going to hazard a guess and say there's no plan.
There's no plan. That I know of right now. But if there are individuals who have a plan and they haven't openly shared it, but I will tell you the one thing that we can do right now is work to ensure that it doesn't get as bad as it could be. Because I will tell you that this has, you were on the school board, so you know this. But it could have been worse.
You're an educator. Just
Yeah.
go back to what public education is.
I am.
Send that message.
Listen, I'm with you, and that is the message that's the message that's given. That's the message that's for.
It doesn't get old.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and it does, and you're right. But there's no true plan that I know of right now. But the only way we can do that is just continue to work with numbers that forces true compromise and us working together to create a plan we can to be able to get to where we need to go.
I have one more random one.
No,
that I think
that's beautiful.
Restaurants. So in the state of Georgia, when you walk into a restaurant, whether it's a 4-star, 5-star, doesn't matter what it is, they actually have their inspection results
Agreed.
right at the front
Yeah.
door.
Yeah.
So I just saw a couple of restaurants close within the last 3 months due to some things happening in the restaurant.
Let's say uncleanliness.
Uncleanliness. And so I'm hoping that the state of Florida can take it on that. They can move that little piece of paper they have in the back, just the front window. So all you're doing is just move it to the front window. So at least I'm going to a restaurant, I can see you got an 87 and why, and make a decision if I want to eat it or not.
In 2012, when I got elected, one of the first questions I had, I was in New York, and I came back and I saw the letter grades and things of that nature. I never forget asking Senator Chris Smith. I said, well, we should do a bill to where people got to put their the grades in front of restaurants. The state of Florida they tried before. It failed in a bipartisan way years ago, long time ago.
Question, but why would that fail? Everybody's eating out. I mean, why would it fail?
Not rural Florida. That's the easiest answer.
Yeah, okay.
It failed. I mean, it was presented. The idea came. The idea came before some years ago. The idea was put out there, and it didn't go through. I don't know why. I didn't do any research on it. I just know since 2013, I haven't. It's crazy you even asked that. I haven't heard about that since then.
I'm bringing it up.
You bring it.
I'm coming to Tallahassee, I'm bringing it up.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Yes, please.
So I don't know if it's really the right place, but I just learned about the Freedom Tower being gifted for the library to Donald Trump along with the
Freedom Tower is
parking
the
lot
one next door.
adjacent that the board has decided to do. And there's supposed to be a vote tomorrow on whether this is going to happen. Who is going to be making that vote? Is it anybody in the Senate or the House, or is that just the college going to give away $65 million plus the parking lot of Miami-Dade County residents?
That's the college. The college and their board, they're making that decision. Myself, or Representative Sabi, we have nothing to. But I will tell you that last legislative session, we did do legislation to allow for the presidential library to be able to be built within the state of Florida with no restrictions. I mean, just as if any other president wanted to have a presidential library here. It wasn't just for the president, but yeah, for anyone. And this does not have anything to do with that. But the land being given has everything to do with Miami-Dade County. Obviously, the college.
So the vote tomorrow is
It's
all
with the
within
board
the-
members.
all that.
Is there board of trustees?
The board of trustees. Yeah. Ask the question.
That answers your question, not the way I wanted it.
All right, please, take it.
This is a question about Live Local Act. Many municipalities don't like it due to their ability being taken away. I mean, Florida League of Cities don't like it. Every single league in Florida doesn't like it very much because of that issue. But here in Bal Harbour, it's pretty much one of the main focal lawsuits that are going on between the village and the Whitman's family associations. And I mean, what was I going to say? The main issue, the Bal Harbour Village has a lot of issues, but for me, the main issue that I see with Live Local and I see with other properties is that it seems to be that developers don't really choose to try to make workforce housing, or it isn't affordable housing, it's workforce housing under a certain tax bracket of the poverty, 140%, all those numbers. But in reality, if it's something of work, for example, in Bal Harbour here, something workforce housing, a supposed studio would be a $3,100 rent. Impossible. I'm not paying that. Never. And a lot of other properties that have Live Local across Miami, like there's 11 different proposals in Wynwood that are extremely high because Wynwood has a high property value already in place. And so there's not many projects that are happening that are going to be embedded into areas that actually need housing. And so the cost is going to be so high. So I wanted to know what the legislation might be doing to try to fix that, rather than the constant glitch fixes that are going on with Live Local, which basically expand Live Local's footprint, for example, in religious institution lands, a church in the backyard, I believe it's called, and other different properties, not just commercial. And we'll have to see what happens in Bal Harbour with that lawsuit as well.
So I don't know anything about the lawsuit. I will tell you there was 2 iterations of Live Local. You got the first iteration in which we passed, and then we learned from the first iteration from the concerns that came from cities, that came from city managers and elected officials. That was the first iteration. The second iteration we dealt with, well not dealt, I think the legislature tried to figure out what is the best compromise where we can bring affordable or workforce housing to the state of Florida, while also cities not losing their aesthetic, right? I'll give you a prime example. I represent not just Bal Harbour, Surfside, and Miami Shores, and some of these areas who don't have these high-rise buildings, and to where many of the developers, if a developer wanted to come in and build a 17, 18-foot building. There was a point in time to where Live Local would just have allowed that. Now we had to come to a new iteration to where it has to go through a type of arbitration or a review for this, not just the city, but the developers, to ensure that the aesthetic within cities are not being compromised, right? Here's what I also will say. Live Local was a bipartisan effort in a very large way, because not only do, like I said, we realized that affordability and workforce housing, something needed to be done. This is something that had not been done before. So I am clear on that we will have to come back this legislative session, because I know we are. And there will be changes, some other ideas that will come for Live Local for some of these very same concerns. We might even have to address some of the lawsuits that are not just happening, that probably in Bal Harbour, which I'm hearing about now, but I'm hearing that there's some litigation that's happening in some other areas where we will have to come back. Representative Kaladiu and Senator Pasadomo, this was their baby, but I do know that Senator Kaladiu is working on some new things that have come from what she has learned over these past couple of months since we've been out. So I'm almost sure you will see some changes. I would definitely love to hear what those changes look like, so when those conversations do happen, so we can make sure that we put them on the table. Well, listen, I really appreciate you all for being here today and for coming out tonight. I'll give you these last few things just so you know that committee week starts on October the 6th. Session starts on January the 13th. And hopefully that we will be back here when we can give you a legislative update in March of next year to tell you what happened in the 2026 legislative session. And I appreciate you all for coming and spending an hour with us tonight. Thank you so much.